Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. This is May the 11th, 2026. This is our regular monthly session. So we again welcome everyone here tonight. And as always, we start our meeting off with a prayer and a pledge. And so tonight, Commissioner Walker will lead us in the prayer, and Commissioner Ellis will lead us in the pledge.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your many blessings, dear Lord. Thank you for another opportunity to come together as a board, dear Lord. And I just pray you give us wisdom and guidance as we make decisions, dear Lord. I just pray we make decisions that would most help the people we represent, dear Lord. And I just thank you for all you've done. We thank you for your son, Jesus, who died on the cross for our sins and rose 3 days later. And dear Lord, we love you, Jesus. In your name we pray, amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I hear a motion we approve the minutes from last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do I hear a motion we approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Any additions or corrections on this, Mr. Wooten?
If we could, under new business, add a G for a property tax resolution related to some advocacy from the Association of County Commissioners that they've requested. And also, Commissioner Gardner had asked if it would be possible to recognize any law enforcement members in the room, maybe during the appointments for National Police Week. So maybe after Ms. Hayes, that would be appropriate, unless you have a different.
I will, Sharon, I'll make a motion. I will amend my motion to add under new business item G and item H as recommended by the county manager.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, let's then move along to item A, which will be the America 250 Award. And our clerk, Ms. Robinson, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairman. So before I get into the recognition of students, I'm going to give a brief overview of what the McDowell 250 Committee is, what we've done so far, and what we're planning on doing as we approach July 4th. For those that don't know, in 2026, America will commemorate 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. A resolution was passed by the McDowell County Board of Commissioners on April 8th, 2024, endorsing America 250 and its mission. So with that came the formation of the McDowell 250 Committee, consisting of community partners like the Mountain Gateway Museum, representatives from the town of Old Fort, the city of Marion, and McDowell Tech, and many more. So I'd like to take a moment to thank the McDowell County Commissioners for the vital role that they've played in the formation of this committee, along with our county manager, Mr. Wooten. And I'd also like to thank all of the organizations that have partnered with our committee for events, our generous volunteers, and last but certainly not least, our committee members. On April 18th, 2025, our county participated in Two Lights for Tomorrow, a powerful moment of reflection and unity. On the night of April 18th, 1775, Paul Revere and William Dawes took their infamous ride, and 250 years later, Two Lights for Tomorrow commemorated that ride. Communities across the United States joined together to honor the spirit of cooperation and courage that helped ignite the American Revolution. On April 26, 2025, we had the America 250 kickoff celebration at the historic Carson House. This event started with a special program featuring proclamations and presentations, and we had a full day of crafts, food, and historic demonstrations with a great community turnout. Throughout 2025, our committee had a booth at festivals in McDowell County where folks could learn more about the 250th, the Beyond 1842 project, browse books about McDowell County's history, and play McDowell County trivia to win prizes. And we're planning on doing the same this year with Trails and Trains and the Livermush Festival. On September 17th, 2025, in partnership with the McDowell County Public Library, the Mountain Gateway Museum, students from across the Foothills Community School had the opportunity to see the state constitution, Declaration of Rights, and John Adams' thoughts on government. Archivists were on site to provide context for students and visitors, and we had around 70 students attend that day. Our committee was there with the Dear North Carolina worksheet, so students could write a letter to future historians about what life is like in North Carolina right now. The McDowell 250 Committee has hosted a monthly speaker series since August 2025, and our committee aimed to relate all topics for these events to the main themes provided by the America 250 NC team. Those themes are When Are We Us and Revolutionary North Carolina. And local historian Ann Swaim was our first speaker, and our most recent event last week took a look at Colonel John Adams of Old Fort. These events are on the first Thursday of the month and are usually held at the Marion Depot or the Old Fort Depot. And this series is winding down. June is our last event. On April 18th of this year, our committee hosted a cleanup of Greenlee Park in sponsorship or in partnership with North Carolina Cooperative Extension's McDowell County Center. The America 250 NC team partnered with the DNCR Green Team and North Carolina Aquariums to coordinate North Carolina the Beautiful, and this is a statewide cleanup initiative through 2026. We collected around 10 bags of trash and were able to provide Keep America Beautiful t-shirts to volunteers who came out to help us. And this event would not be possible without the help of NC Cooperative Extension, McDowell County. They really helped streamline the process for our volunteers. The Beyond 1842 project is a McDowell County Community Archive and Oral History project, and you might remember Dr. Jordan Laney's presentation on this a few months ago. Dr. Laney has worked super hard to put all this together, and stories from our community are now live on the website. These videos feature real voices from across McDowell County sharing their memories, experiences, and personal histories. So if you're interested in getting involved, check out their website, beyond1842.org. And we are excited to announce that we'll be giving away a small gift to commemorate the 250th in McDowell County. That's the design that our committee has decided on. So on the 4th of July, we'll have a booth at Mountain Gateway's annual ice cream social from 2 to 4 p.m. and Main Street in Marion from 6 to 9 p.m. These buttons and stickers are available while supplies last, so please find our booth. And now we can get on to the real reason that we're here. In the fall of 2025, the America 250 NC team invited 4th grade students from across North Carolina to design county flags that reflect how they see their region of the state. The goal was to inspire students to think critically about local history, culture, geography through symbolism. We had 4 participating elementary schools, and our committee received 53 entries in total. Our committee voted on the winning designs, and 2 students' designs were submitted to the state, so they're on the state website. And in partnership with the City of Marion, all 53 submissions will be on display in City Hall on Main Street starting June 1st. So the overall winner of this challenge was Taya from Nebo Elementary. This design was wonderful, and in her essay, Taya wrote, "I put the cross on the outer part of my flag because it reminds me of emergency kits with Band-Aids inside. I think this represents McDowell. When there's a problem, McDowell patches it up and moves along." So congrats to Taya for being the overall winner, and like I said, her artwork is available for viewing on the America 250 NC state website. Braden from Eastfield was the overall runner-up for this challenge. My favorite part is the extra note on the back. It says, "I hope I win. I stayed up all night long making copies." So congrats to Braden. Bryson created the winning entry from Glenwood, and this design is beautiful. It includes the Old Fort Arrowhead and the courthouse. Congrats, Bryson. And Grayson created the winning entry from Marion, and the essay did a fantastic job at tying the design back to the history of McDowell County schools, so congrats to him. And if I could get Taya, Braden, Bryson, Grayson to come up to the front and pick up your prize. And Doug Swaim, chairman of the McDowell 250 committee, would like to say a few words before we close. Taya, did I say your name right? Okay, good. Congratulations. Braden. Congratulations.
Need to keep them up here.
Bryson.
Keep them up here if
Stay
you
up.
will.
Can y'all stay up here? And Grayson. Congratulations. Okay, you want to get a picture? And
Yes.
if you're a committee member or a teacher or anybody, come up here. You'll want to get.
Let's get y'all right over here. Front and center, y'all. Y'all are the stars of the show. Get y'all right here. Yep. Congratulations. We have some hearts. We got some skills right there. Congratulations, young man. Good job. Okay.
Very briefly, on behalf of the volunteers who serve on the committee, I wanted to add our thanks to those that Madalyn provided. Plus, it's very important that we have a public thank you to Madalyn herself, who has served us so well as the staff support person to the committee. And I would point out to you that several of the things that we have done were initiatives that Madalyn came up with, and it was really on her energy that drove them forward. When we came before you last fall for some funding, there were three things on the list. One was stipends to pay the folks who have been speaking on a monthly basis. That's been helpful and appreciated. Another one was the mementos that we'll be giving out at the 4th of July, which Madalyn mentioned. There's a third thing which hasn't come up yet. We asked you for money to do a poster series, something that could go on display around the county and talk about the commemoration. And I want to thank Dr. Kelley for a part that he played in making this happen. Amanda Finn started working on the posters last summer before she left town, wasn't able to finish before she left town. We were dead in the water for several months, and then Dr. Kelley connected us with the graphic design department out at McDowell Tech, and a whole class of graphic design students took a shot at it, worked on the designs. We picked a winner, we put the finishing touches on them, and we'll be taking those to Master's hand to have them printed soon, and we'll begin to put them on display. And I hope early in the process we can put them on display out here in the lobby of the administrative building. I think you'll appreciate that. One other person that I see here that I want to thank, through our process, we have done the best that we could to get the word out about what we're doing. And it's tough these days. It's tough to get the attention of the community, but Mike Conley has been so loyal to us. Is Mike still here? And every time we've sent him a press release, we've gotten a nice story in the news. So I never want to miss an opportunity to thank McDowell News and Mike in particular for what he does for us. So thank you all, folks.
Thank you very much. That was really impressive, and we appreciate all the hard work that was put into this, and we're certainly proud of our clerk and the dedication and hard work she's put into it, as well as all the others. There's been many here in the county that have worked really hard to make this an exciting event this year, and so we're very proud of each and every one of you, and thank you very much. Moving along now to item B, which would be the Vaya Health update, and Tracy Hayes with Vaya Health is here with us tonight. Ma'am, you're welcome to the podium.
Well, good evening. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here. My name is Tracy Hayes. I'm the Area Director and Chief Executive Officer at Vaya Health, which is your local management entity and managed care organization. Some of you may remember us. I understand some of you have been county commissioners for a bit now. You may remember us as Smoky Mountain Center from back in the day. Before I get started, I do want to thank you all for your appointment of Mr. Wooten to our regional board, and he serves on our governing board. And Ashley has been a consistent voice and support on our board for many years now. He is a faithful attendee at meetings. He always comes forward and advocates very appropriately for the people that we serve, and more importantly, for the citizens of McDowell County. So we want to thank Ashley for his consistent service on our board. Also want to recognize Commissioner Garner, who is an appointee to our regional board and has done a fantastic job in that role as well. Do I need to do anything with the slides? Oh, sorry. Sure.
Were you bringing it?
Apparently it's already loaded.
Okay.
And I have to say, that's a hard act to follow, is a bunch of beautiful kids and their
It
amazing
is.
flags. It sounds like you did a great job.
That.
Yep,
That one. Okay.
So I'm just going to give a real quick overview of Vaya and then talk about a sequential intercept model mapping that we did here in the community a few weeks ago. I would love to talk with y'all about how we can better partner and support law enforcement here in McDowell County, and then talk a little bit about some existing and future McDowell County initiatives, just so you can hear about the things that we are doing in McDowell County to support the needs of individuals with mental health challenges, substance use disorders, intellectual developmental disabilities, and traumatic brain injury. I'm actually going to go to the next one real quick. First, I kind of want you to see the map. For those of you who have not seen the map of the counties that Vaya covers today, we currently cover 32 counties. We started out with those 7 westernmost counties, and through a number of mergers over the years, we now are responsible for 32 counties, including McDowell. Dustin Burleson, who is your Community Relations Regional Director, was unable to be here today, but his boss, Mr. Brian Shuping, who's our Vice President of Community Relations, is here with me, and they are your points of contact in McDowell County. So whenever you're experiencing an issue or you have questions about, who is the provider, what do? I have a constituent who's calling me and their daughter has a substance use disorder, and who do I connect them with? Brian and Dustin are there to answer your questions and help get you connected with the right folks at Vaya Health. But what we are is kind of a complicated acronym. We are an LME MCO, which means we're a local management entity we actually date back over 50 years. We started out as area authorities in the early 1970s. We were your local mental health authority. We ran facilities where people came to get services. We had psychiatrists and psychologists on staff. Over time, the North Carolina General Assembly has sort of shifted their approach to us and changed the statute that governs us but we remain local government. So just like a county, we are subject to Office of State Human Resources, public records laws, open meetings law, all of those things apply to us. We remain a local government entity, and we remain accountable to our counties. Your voice is very important to us. Your service on our boards is very important to us. Currently, we manage 2 separate health plans for the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. In July of 2024, we launched a new whole person integrated care plan for people with serious mental illness, severe substance use disorder, intellectual developmental disabilities, and traumatic brain injury. In the past, for the past maybe 10, 15 years, we have only been managing those mental health, substance use, and IDD services. We are now managing the whole person care, meaning we manage their physical health care, their pharmacy care, any long-term services and supports, which gives us a much better window into what is happening with a person. We're already starting to see some phenomenal outcomes when we can actually look at the whole picture. For example, on pharmacy, we're able to see not just what medications they're taking for some of their mental health challenges, but we can see what are some of their physical health medications and make sure that those medications aren't contraindicated and that they're getting the supports that they need. We also manage state-funded services for people who aren't eligible for Medicaid, who might be underinsured or have no insurance at all. And we supplement those state funds with county maintenance of effort funding. So we are grateful to all of our counties, including McDowell, for the funds that you allocate to us every year to help support individuals in McDowell who are not eligible for Medicaid. And then we also manage a behavioral health plan for people who have been carved out of managed care. So the General Assembly made the decision to launch managed care in North Carolina for Medicaid. And so more than 50% of the Medicaid beneficiaries are now enrolled in a Medicaid managed care plan. But there are still large groups of people who are not enrolled in Medicaid managed care, but who need mental health, substance use, or other services, and we help manage those services for the department. So that's kind of an overview of what we do. But that really just kind of talks about the health plans that we run. It doesn't necessarily talk about all the other things that we do to support your communities. We do a tremendous amount of training, including crisis intervention team training for law enforcement and first responder partners. So we do a lot of other things in your communities, but these are the 2 primary contracts that we have with DHHS, and this accounts for more than 95% of our funding. So recently, one of the things that we did was helped facilitate a sequential intercept model mapping, a SIM mapping, which we have done in numerous counties. And we did this, I think it was on March 25th, something like that. And it really helps communities visualize how individuals with mental health and substance use disorders kind of work through the criminal justice system, right? Because we know that we see a lot of people with mental health and substance use challenges interfacing with law enforcement, getting caught up in the criminal justice system. And we know we want to figure out what are the best ways to help support those individuals and help support law enforcement as they are interfacing with those individuals. And it looks at 6 distinct intercept points: community and crisis services, law enforcement and emergency services, initial detention and initial court hearings, jails and courts, re-entry back into the community from being incarcerated, and then community corrections and community support. And through this process, McDowell County was able to help start to identify where are the gaps we're seeing, what are resources that are available, and what are some opportunities to divert people into treatment. So some of the things that the McDowell SIM identified as priorities for change, I'm not going to read all of them. There were 12 things, but the top 3 priorities were improving access to mental health services in jail. And that is a challenge because federal law does not allow us to spend Medicaid dollars in an incarcerated setting, right? We are not Medicaid, it's a federal prohibition. Medicaid cannot pay for services in a jail or in prison, right? If somebody is in an incarcerated setting and is released from incarceration to go to a hospital to receive care, they can get services in the hospital paid for by Medicaid, but as soon as they get back into an incarcerated setting, Medicaid does not cover their care. So we have to find other ways to support those services in the incarcerated setting. The other priority was around in-county detox and crisis stabilization. And then the third priority was around establishing a recovery court, which other counties are starting to do and have seen some success with, which helps divert people away from incarceration and into substance use recovery. I'm going to focus on the top two because these are areas where Vaya Health we think can help support the county and play an important role in achieving some of these changes. We can help improve access to mental health services in the jail. We have to start by mapping what is currently exists within the jail. Service providers, county stakeholders, peer support, etc. And then we have to create avenues for more community-based organizations to work within the jail and figure out how we can help support them with non-Medicaid dollars, because we're not going to be allowed to use Medicaid to pay for those services. And then we'd love to work with you all to help develop and support an in-county detox and crisis stabilization facility. We know that right now for crisis services, everybody's got to go somewhere else, right? There's not a crisis facility here in McDowell County. And the real life challenge is that we can't afford, North Carolina cannot afford to have an existing brick and mortar crisis facility in every one of the 100 counties. And so there's more of a regional model right now. You all have several that are fairly close. There's the child and adult facility in Buncombe County. There is a facility in Caldwell County. There is a facility in Wilkes County. So again, we get funding from the Division of Mental Health to help develop those facilities, but we would like to explore with you all how we can start to support development of an in-county detox and crisis stabilization facility here in McDowell County to better support your citizens. So we need to identify the specific services that are needed and the best type of facility to offer them, and including the transportation needs of law enforcement. One of the things that we have experienced in other counties where we have developed crisis facilities is you have to work with law enforcement from day one to help identify the pathways for security and transportation of individuals who are in a behavioral health crisis or who are potentially under an involuntary commitment order. Law enforcement has to go and pick them up and bring them somewhere, and so it's really important that we work closely with law enforcement as we develop those pathways. And then we need to identify potential funding sources so that we can start to figure out how can we afford to build a facility or support the development of a facility here in McDowell County. And, just want to talk about what can we do to strengthen our relationships with law enforcement. I want you all to hear from me directly how much we at Vaya Health support our law enforcement partners, how much we believe in our law enforcement partners, and how grateful we are for them every single day. We know that they are on the front lines of interfacing with people with very significant mental health challenges, and they don't know if that person is a danger to them or not when they first interface with them. One of the things that we do offer free of charge to every one of our counties and our law enforcement partners and our first responder partners is crisis intervention team training. That is available at your request. You just need to let us know. Sometimes we might group some counties together and have them do it together, but we are always available because we know even if you've had CIT training for your law enforcement in the past, you've had turnover and you've hired new officers. So we're always available to come back and do more CIT training. CIT training is considered one of the foremost ways to help law enforcement when they are interacting with someone who has a mental health or substance use challenge. It really helps them learn de-escalation techniques and identify when is somebody experiencing a mental health crisis and when is this something where it's more serious and they are a danger to themselves or others. What are those triggers? What are the words to avoid? What are the things to say to help someone de-escalate? Because what we all want is for everybody to walk out of that encounter safe and alive, including law enforcement. It's a terrible outcome for law enforcement. We know this when they have to draw their weapon. That creates mental health challenges for the officer. So I just want you all to hear from me how much at Vaya we support law enforcement and want to partner with you in how you all manage individuals with a mental health crisis in your community. We are doing reentry work with Freedom Life. We've gotten some pilot funding from the Department of Health and Human Services. Reentry is a really exciting path that we are on, trying to figure out how can we best support individuals who are coming out of incarceration, often with mental health disorders, existing addiction because they were accessing drugs while they were in the incarcerated setting. They come out 90% of the time homeless. They have nowhere to go. Out of the caseload that I think our team has been working on with the past year, I think only one person that they worked with actually had family that was willing to give them a place to live when they got out. In many cases, there is no family. Either there's just not any family nearby, there's no one left alive, or they have so burned those bridges with those family members that they're not willing to accept them back into their homes. So they often come out of incarceration homeless, no job, having an addiction, having a mental health diagnosis. And so what can we do to help support reentry and help get these individuals on a path to being productive members of society and not entering that cycle of reincarceration? And we are starting to see some success. We have definitely had some success, but it's a tremendous amount of work, and we're excited to partner with Freedom Life. Transitional housing is a big piece of that. I was at an event, I'm trying to remember which county it was, where we opened some additional transitional housing. I was able to actually speak with some gentlemen who had been incarcerated and who talked about their experience being released from incarceration. This was a gentleman who had been, I think, in prison for about 18 years. This was in Rowan County. And he got discharged, and he recalls that it was a cold day, and he got out in his prison whites. He didn't have any clothes. And he went to the homeless shelter, and they were full. And they suggested to him, well, you can try going to this church. He went to that church. They were full, but they gave him a coat because it was cold. And, he spent the night outdoors. And then got up in the morning, as he put it, he went to a Whataburger and stayed at the Whataburger and realized he had to figure out a path. This was not going to be a path for him. What could be done? And ended up getting connected with a provider agency that runs transitional housing. And they got him into the transitional housing, and 2 years later, he has held a job straight for 18 months. He got his first driver's license in his life, was able to buy a used car this man was in his 50s, was able to buy a used car for the first time in his life, and is doing very well. But it was because he had the support of the transitional housing, which included things like mental health counseling. Because they were like, you know what? If you try to go get a job today, you're not going to be successful. You don't have any job skills. When was the last time you had a job? How do you help support somebody to get those skills so they can be successful in a job setting and hold on to that job? They really helped him focus on how to get better, even how to get better with some of his physical health challenges. He came out of incarceration, I think it was either an ulcer or a hernia that needed to be treated. And so they helped get him connected to care so he could get that connected. And all of these things meant that by doing this gentleman did not go back and reoffend and go back into incarceration, and he is now a productive member of that community. So these are the things that we would like to partner with you all in McDowell County so we can start to see some of those successes here. Some of the current initiatives, you can see there that Insight Human Services is going to be launching a child substance use cross-area service program. It's a 24/7 program that will support youth with substance use disorders through stabilization, skill building, family engagement, and long-term recovery planning. The family engagement piece of that is really, really important. One of the things that we know is that youth in particular are going to have a very hard time being successful in recovery from addiction without that entire engagement of the family and the family being involved and supported in that effort. We are leading a crisis response coalition in support of local crisis management systems. We talked about CIT training. We attend the quarterly McDowell Reentry Council and monthly McDowell Partnership for Substance Awareness meetings. And our staff participate in daily, weekly, multidisciplinary team meetings with McDowell DSS. Some of the upcoming community involvement and trainings that we have on deck, we'll be doing a mental health first aid training on May 12th. Spring Forward Community Resource Day on May 16th, Healthy Aging Day, May 18th. We'd want to participate and support all your health fairs. We will always show up with our booth, with giveaways to help make these health fairs more attractive, to get people to attend, and where we can hand out literature about our 24/7, 365 call center that people in crisis can call, all of those things. So we will support any of your health fairs. You just have to let us know about them. We have regular DSS directors meeting. The next one is May the 20th. We'll be at the Marion Community Forum on May 21st. We'll be participating in the heart health training on May 28th, diabetes management training on May 29th. Our CFAC, we have a Consumer and Family Advisory Committee, which is made up of people who actually receive services and their families and caregivers. They're an important part of our governance. 4 CFAC members sit on our board. And those individuals meet regularly, and their next meeting is June the 8th. The Crisis Response Coalition is June 10th, and then we already have a CIT training planned in McDowell October 12th through the 16th. We are also doing some workforce development initiatives across our catchment area, not specific to McDowell County, but we hear a lot about how there just aren't enough people to do the work. I actually had the opportunity to have coffee or tea with Tricia right before this, and we were talking about how hard it is to find health professionals to do some of this work. And so we want to be part of the solution. We want to figure out how do we help support people to choose this as a career. One of the things we're doing, we've gotten some grant funding from the Dogwood Health Trust. And we are partnering with App State in Western Carolina. We're offering stipends to 13 clinical licensure students right now who are completing internships at one of our community provider agencies. We are also partnering with the Western North Carolina Institute. What we've learned is that a lot of the provider agencies haven't really made it to the 21st century for HR. They're still doing things, they need a lot of help, they need a lot of support, so we're trying to help support them in things like, how do you recruit in today's climate and attract top quality talent? How do you cultivate emotional intelligence for success? How do you coach employees for success? How do you win through conflict? And how do you retain and create a workforce that lasts? Because what we see is a tremendous amount of turnover. So how do we help retain staff so that we're not seeing that turnover? And just really, we want to attract people to these careers. These are great careers where they can make a difference in their community. How can we help attract people to those careers? And then I think second to last thing I'll talk about is just a little bit about the work we've been doing on Hope for NC. We were very proud to be part of the response to Hurricane Helene. We know McDowell County was hit very hard, as were most of our constituent counties. We were immediately on the ground in the days after Helene, supporting providers, actually delivered gasoline, water, food, other supplies to providers across our catchment area, particularly providers that had members living in their facilities to make sure that they had what they needed. We made over $5 million in direct grants to provider agencies. These were not funds that had to be paid back to keep them afloat, because we needed those provider agencies to be able to make payroll and continue operations. As part of our Helene recovery work, we were asked by the state of North Carolina to take on the Hope for NC subcontract. This is a Hope for NC. It's a federal grant partnership between SAMHSA and SAMHSA is the state, it's the Substance Abuse Mental Health Awareness Agency within HHS at the federal level, and FEMA. It's a partnership between the two of them, and basically we have hired peer support agencies and have peers going door to door and attending events throughout all of the affected counties, making sure that people know what supports are available to them. We have helped a number of folks in the early days before the FEMA deadline, making sure, because there was a lot of misinformation, right? Like, don't apply for FEMA, you won't get anything. And we're like, well, you're not going to get anything if you don't apply. So let's help you get that application in. So we helped a lot of people get applications in so they could get whatever funding was available to them, making sure they recognize the grant funding that's available to folks, and things like that. So we have staff who've been doing this. We've made over 123,000 contacts to date with survivors. And we participate in all the long-term recovery groups across the impacted counties, working collaboratively with disaster case management, and including some of the GROW NC meetings and the Western North Carolina Recovery Summit. So just wanted you all to be aware of the fantastic work that has been happening around Helene recovery. And then I'll close with just a highlight of crisis service utilization. You can see on this map, behavioral health urgent care centers are represented in red, and facility-based crisis centers are represented in green on the map. And as we talked about, there is not one specifically in McDowell County, but you have several very close to you. And this kind of demonstrates crisis service utilization and how these services help keep people out of the emergency department. So you can see here, out of the crisis service utilization, 9% go to the facility-based crisis centers, about 34% to our walk-in centers, 17% get mobile crisis, and about 39% are at the behavioral health urgent care, or the BHUC. Vaya created the state's first BHUC in Buncombe County. It was the first of its kind in North Carolina. And you can see finally some statistics around our diversion rates. We, from October through December 2025, our diversion rate was at 93% of individuals who accessed a crisis service were diverted away from the emergency department, which is what we want. We want to keep these people out of the emergency department so that those hospitals can be focused on their priorities and not having to deal with folks with mental health crises in their emergency rooms or in their waiting rooms. And so 4,409 individuals in that time frame were diverted away from the ED and into a crisis service, and only 7% ended up going on to the emergency department. 62% received follow-up services, and only 22% were readmitted to EDs and 10% readmitted to facility-based crisis. So those are just some high-level statistics about the work that we've been doing in McDowell County, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Well, that was a very informative to all of us, and I was really shocked to realize that you are so involved in so many different entities, you know, locally and I guess all of Western North Carolina, but you guys are really involved in a lot of stuff and help a lot of people. So I think on behalf of the board, I could say we really appreciate what you do. You guys have any questions?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the fact you mentioned Freedom Life and your support of law enforcement. So, and I understand that the Detox Crisis Center, and one of your goals is, or your top priorities is to identify potential funding sources based on needs. And you're saying that needed in McDowell County is a Detox Crisis Center, right?
That is what the sequential intercept mapping showed. That was one of the top priorities that was identified. I was not personally at the SIM mapping, but my understanding is a group of folks, there was law enforcement in the room. I believe Commissioner Garner was there. I believe Mr. Wooten was there. Several staff from Vaya were there. And these were the top priorities identified by that group. And the second priority was establishing a detox center.
Right. So tell me just, and I know it's all new, and I appreciate the work that Commissioner Garner did on that committee and anybody else on that committee too. But do y'all have a plan to try to obtain funding, or do you, like some way to segue the need into trying to make it a reality?
Sure. We've looked at this in a number of counties, and there's a number of different things that we can do. Generally, what we find is most successful, we can approach the department and see if there is funding available within the Division of Mental Health. That's usually where we start. What we find is that the Division of Mental Health is generally more supportive when they also see local funding that will match and help support. They don't like to be the only funder, right? They want to see, is there community support for this? Because for its long-term success, you have to have community support. So for example, we've built a large behavioral health urgent care in Alamance County, which is one of our counties, and the county itself contributed money towards the development.
What kind of match are you talking about?
It really depends. It really depends. So I think in Alamance County, I can't remember how, but I feel like several $1 million that county put up as part of the development of it. And there's several different costs, right? There's the building of it, and then there's the sustainability of it. The sustainability of it can be done not completely, but largely through claims-based services. So you contract with a provider, the provider works out of the facility, the provider bills claims for detox, for other services, and then they receive that reimbursement, and that reimbursement helps support operations. What we have found is that we tend to also have to provide additional funding to kind of help support overhead, because we look at crisis services, we operate what we call the firehouse model. You don't have a firehouse there just when you have a fire. You have a firehouse there all the time for when there is a fire. And that's how we like to think about our behavioral health urgent cares and our facility-based crisis. They need to be there even if maybe for 3 days no one has come in, because they still need to be there. And so we have a plan. We use the state dollars that we get from the Division of Mental Health to help supplement the claims dollars, and that's what helps support kind of the overhead. The biggest challenge is finding the funding to build the facility. Sometimes what has worked in some of our communities is the county may have a building that they're not using, or a property that they're not using, and that they can contribute the property or the building.
And that would be the match.
And that would be the match, right. So we see that in a lot of counties, where it's a building that they contribute as opposed to a specific dollar amount that they contribute. So it really will just depend on what's available in McDowell and what we can do. But we have been very creative in the past, and we continue to be creative, because that's just what you have to do to make things happen in this space. It was a great question.
I'm sure the hospital would be very appreciative if we got a detox center, since we send
Yes.
most people there.
And it's
right
very
now.
useful to have it near the hospital. We have found that in many of our counties, having the detox or the diversion center close to the hospital makes it easier for law enforcement, right?
Is that, will that lead to that? I'll just lead in. So that's where you say, one of your bullet points is you support transportation needs of law enforcement, right?
Yes, yes.
I was gonna ask, elaborate
Yeah.
on that a little bit.
Well, law enforcement is the one, when somebody gets IVC'd, right? When there's an involuntary commitment order issued by a magistrate, who does that go to? It goes to law enforcement, and they have to go find them and pick them up. And then they're bringing them, usually, either to the ED, to get evaluated, right? And so, having law enforcement at the table from the very beginning and making sure that they're part of the conversations about where's the best location to build this, how are we all gonna partner together, it's really important. We've done that in other counties.
I would like to say, just working with you, you're always available. That's not something you find in every LME MCO that you work with. I really appreciate the work that Vaya does for the people in our community, and how just accessible you are. To take a, something that's going on and look for a solution and look for a change and really listen is very important. I don't think that we could have the great need that we do have in this county. We need someone who cares, and I really find that in Vaya. I find that in Vaya on a personal level. I find it in a professional level, and then even here in this room. So I really just can't thank you enough for the work that you do. I really appreciate what you said about, working with law enforcement. I did attend the Sims meeting, and so I really appreciate what you said, and we actually have some law enforcement officers and personnel here today, and I know they appreciate that, just to move forward and work hand in hand and partner with you. So I do appreciate you coming and sharing all the great things you do, and I firsthand know.
And McDowell County supports law enforcement. I mean, our board is a strong supporter of law enforcement. Have a former law enforcement officer on our board right now. And so we appreciate the fact that you work with them and try to make their job easier. I just say the word easier because it's challenging.
It is.
And so mental health crisis, like you said, you never know what you're going to roll up on when you get out of that car. So we appreciate all you can do to help them out.
Thank you. I want all of your law enforcement officers to be safe in every encounter they have with somebody who is experiencing a mental health crisis. And it is my privilege to be here. I've been in this role now for almost 3 years. And technically, I probably should have said this when I was praising Ashley. He is one of my bosses, because I do report. I report, just like Ashley reports to you all, I report to our board, and he is one of our board members. So it's a privilege to have this job. I believe in the public system. I think it is better than you all dealing with, say, a United Healthcare or a Centene or some other national company who's maybe not headquartered in North Carolina and doesn't necessarily have those local connections and care about the communities the way that we do. We have people who live and work in every single one of our 32 counties.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate all you do, and Ms. Hazen, we welcome you back at some point in
Thank you
time.
very much.
And then
We're gonna
saying,
get a picture with her
Yes.
and the law enforcement
Law
that's here
enforcement.
represented.
we wanted to say a word about law enforcement too. Should we go ahead and do that?
I think now,
I think it would be appropriate to go ahead and,
That way they don't have to
as
stay.
they,
Yeah.
do what?
They don't have to stay to the very end.
Yeah.
They're busy.
As they're coming up, I think it would be appropriate to say, and I'll let each commissioner speak, but on my behalf anyway, I really appreciate the work that's done by law enforcement in so many different areas in our county and in our city, our municipalities. You guys work tirelessly, and you lay it all on the line to do what you do, and I really appreciate it, and I know these guys do too.
Yeah, the general public doesn't really realize
what kind of danger you guys are in a lot of times when you're going to a call. And this is pointing it out a little bit, but then there's other things when you may have domestic issues or something else, and then they want to take it out on you. But you guys are nothing but respect, and greatly appreciate what you do for this county.
And I just want to say thank you and appreciation to the board. We've always had a great working relationship. We know we are supported by the board in this county, and not just, you don't have that everywhere, and you don't have that with all communities everywhere, but we know in McDowell County, we feel the support from our citizens and from our board, and we just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to say thank you all so much for all you do. Even on the topic we're talking today about mental health and behavioral health, that's like Patrick just said, that's a whole different ball game with everything else you deal with. And so, you know, the importance of us all partnering together to kind of help with that is so important. But thank you so much. I know National Police Week also, you know, recognizes fallen officers, and so the families and people that have served in our community and all around, you know, I do hold high respect for you all and what you do, and you keep us safe, and you keep us safe. Kind of like she said, the firehouse, you keep us safe when we don't even know it. You know, you're doing things around us we don't even know, and so I can't thank you all enough for all that you do.
Yeah, I just say your presence in the community, I think sometimes keeps crime down. They see the card, they may think twice. And so I do want to say personally that I appreciate the work y'all do, and we will always have your back. People in the community may throw off on y'all, but we'll be here to represent y'all in a positive, professional way and say, look, they're doing a great job. We support them, and we always will support you guys.
When you have a call dispatched to a patrol car and you arrive on that scene, it may not be a crime that you're dealing with. It may be health, it may be fire, it may be whatever. It may be domestic violence, it may be something to do with children and DSS, but you have to determine within just a few seconds of which hat you put on, and you wear them all until the next agency gets there. And I realize that, and I realize because I wore the uniform too. I know what you guys have to put up with from time to time, but I want you to know that this board does have your back, and we will continue to.
That's good. Tallest guys in the back.
DJ, get in front.
Get back, DJ.
You might have to get down on your knees. Give me a stool. All over there.
Yep, in front. Yep.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. Okay, now we'll move along to item C, which will be the McDowell Tech Community College. Dr. Kelley is here with us tonight to give us a presentation, so the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And Mr. Wooten has already informed me that I have 12.67 seconds for each slide.
There you go.
Our mission at McDowell Tech is to enrich the community through education and promote workforce development. Community is in our mission, and community is in our name. So we've talked a little bit, today is about community, right, so far, to include the American 250. So McDowell Tech is glad to participate in that as an institution. We have individuals that are engaged in the community as well, and that's so important to us. One thing I would like to highlight about the America 250 is we've taken that young lady's flag design and taken it to our graphic design department. They've taken their design skills and created that in such a way that it will be printed on a flag, and so we're creating an actual flag. That way it can be carried at the front of the parade on July 4th. Also creating a flag for the family to have, so that way, because Mama's going to want that flag for a long time, right? And we'd like to request that after July 4th that we have the flag here in the commissioner's area here for the year. And then we can take that to the student school after that year. So if that's all right with the commissioners, I think
it would be
figured
great.
you would jump
Yeah,
on
nice
board
display
with that.
case, yeah.
So hopefully we'll have that flag ready in the next month, have that delivered to us, and then we'll make sure everybody has a chance to see that. Also at your desk, you have our annual report, and I'm not going to read through that or anything. However, I wanted to make sure you had it because going back to community, there's a lot of great student stories in there, and so I encourage you to take time one evening to kind of look through there and see some of those student stories and see the impact that we're having in the community, and I'll talk a little more about that in a little bit. I also want to say that I'm not going to go through every single slide that you have in your packet. You have that for your reference and for further information. If you have questions about it, please let me know. But today I'm just going to try to hit the highlights of enrollment, programs, facilities, and finances, and then of course answer any questions that you may have there at the end of my presentation. First, let's start with enrollment. One of the things that I'm very proud of is if you see on this slide, you'll see that there's 0.27, which is basically 27%. You won't find another higher percentage in the entire state. And that is the highest participation of McDowell County citizens at the college. So we have the highest reach into the community than any other community college across the state. So we work very, very hard to make sure we're reaching every single potential student in McDowell County to help them grow in economic mobility, but also to enrich their lives and their growth in employment and in the workforce. The other thing that we're excited about that you'll see on this chart is we're the 7th fastest growing college in the state. I don't know what the heck James Front's doing at 83%, but we're growing pretty good there at 33%, and so we're proud of that growth that that's happening in McDowell County as well. So we compare ourselves not just across the state, however, just like a business would compare themselves to similar businesses in an area, we compare ourselves to what we call our cluster schools. Working with the system office, we've identified several schools that are most like us across the state, and then we want to compare ourselves to them to see how we are doing. And so if you look at our FTE comparisons, you can see there in the light green that we are trending upwards at a higher rate than our cluster schools across the state, which is really good. I want to pause there for a second and define FTE though. If you think about it from an employment perspective, if you had 4 part-time employees and they were all working 10 hours a week, that would total 40 hours, so that would be the equivalent of 1 full-time employee. We do a similar calculation and a formula when it comes to what is in a full-time student. So we take all of our students, the number of hours and classes they're taking, you put that into a formula, and out pops the full-time equivalency of a student. So that's the reason that is important, is because that is the way we are funded. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but we are funded based upon the full-time equivalency of our students. So we're very proud of that growth that's going on, and you can see it's been continuous since 2020, and it's a lot of great work in our area. So CU is curriculum. So you could think about our institution in two really big buckets when it comes to enrollment. One is the college credit and the curriculum. The other is workforce continuing education, which is the short-term training. So college transfer, a degree in welding or machining or engineering, college credit, basic law enforcement training, construction trades, that's short-term workforce training. So that's a good way to distinguish the two. You can see our trend line is steady there in our curriculum FTE with our other cluster schools. The reason that's important is we look at the trend line. If we were trending down and everybody else trending up, then there's a problem. If there's somebody trending at a steeper slope than we are, then I call that institution and say, what are you doing? So that's why we look at those trend lines and the comparisons. If you look for the continuing education, you can see in that light green that we're trending up dramatically as well, flattened out a little bit this year, but we're still outpacing our cluster institutions. The other way to look at the institution is from a total head count. So instead of the full-time equivalency, you look at how many people are actually there, just counting heads. And you can see that we are a continuous nice trend there when it comes to the number of students that we have. You look specifically at our college credit curriculum head count, we're trending very well, a steady increase. And then the same with workforce continuing education, a steady increase in the number of students that we're serving. The reason I added the age range comparison is I wanted to make a highlight here that the 25 to 64, so yes, we serve students in their 60s, so 25 plus is a high percentage of our enrollment at McDowell Tech. A lot of times people in the community, I think, appear because of the early colleges that we're serving mostly high school age or young students. But no, you can see that we're in the 65% range there of students that are clearly adult students in the 25 plus age range. Another way that we compare ourselves is to our sister schools. Those would be the institutions that are around us. I'm not going to go through all of those slides because they're very similar to the other slides, but you have those in your slide deck. But we compare ourselves to Western Piedmont Community College and Isothermal Community College. I also usually get a lot of questions around dual enrollment, so I'd like to jump to that slide. There's two different categories in dual enrollment. One is the early colleges, so that's MEC and MAI. The other is Career and College Promise. So that's the program where we serve McDowell High School, the private schools, the home schools, and those different high schools, and where a student can take classes while they're in high school and at the college at the same time. We have just begun a pilot program that last year, and now it is expanding this year to where now the CCP program is going to be available for 9th and 10th graders as well. So we're very excited about that expansion opportunity in the coming years. So if you look on the chart there for dual enrollment history, the light blue color there at the top is our overall total enrollment for dual enrollment. So that includes the early colleges as well as the high schools. And then you can see there in the yellow are the early colleges. The green is the public schools, so that's McDowell High School. And you can see that that's flattened off a little bit. So we're looking and working with Dr. Grid and the school system to find out what can we do to enhance our offerings, especially in CTE and workforce development in the high school. And then also you can see there with the non-public schools, which would include the homeschoolers, we feel like that there's much more opportunity there to partner with our private schools and our homeschoolers. So those are two areas that we're going to work on. However, I feel like we have very good offerings for our dual enrollment programs in the high school students.
Well, with the 10-year outlook for your public schools, flat and decreasing in enrollment, the homeschool group is a good group to go after.
I agree 100%. And so we're, in fact, when we did our strategic planning recently, and one of our focus groups was with K through 12 partners, we had some homeschool representatives there, and we talked to them about what can we do to enhance the our service to their students. So I agree 100%. So programs, we offer new programs often, but I do want to give a shout out to how good our faculty are. You can see there that little dot that's very hard to see to the far left, that's McDowell Tech. You can see that we're at the top. We're the #1 college across the entire state of all 58 colleges for curriculum course success rates. So that means if you come to McDowell Tech, you're more likely to pass your courses than any other institution across the state. That is not because we've dropped quality. I want to make that very clear. Quality and the standard is very high. But it's that wraparound support, it's the faculty in the classroom, it's the advising, the success coaching, career coaching, all those things that we put in place to take care of our students. I'll give you a great example. As we did a focus group with students last year, the student was struggling in a class and said that his instructor came to him and said, "Don't worry, we'll get through this together." So the key word there is together. We'll do everything we can to work at the same level that our students work to make sure that they're successful in their classes. So we're very proud of that statistic. As an example of a couple of new programs coming online, we have this Public Safety Administration degree, which takes all of our emergency services programming and puts it into an associate degree for students who are interested in advancement or moving into different fields, that way they'll have that Public Safety Administration degree. We just heard about how important social and human services is, so we just recently started an associate degree in social and human services, which is basically a BSW, Bachelor's in Social Work, at the associate level. We're working on setting up agreements with App State and other universities to have a transfer agreement from our associate degree to their bachelor's degree. We implemented an LPN to ADN program because we have a lot of LPNs that are interested in advancement. And so instead of having to start all over with an ADN program, we have a bridging program that allows them to move more quickly to receive their RN. And then, of course, we're very excited about the Outdoor Economy program that's stationed primarily in Old Fort. That program is attracting students from across the entire eastern seaboard. In every class that he has out there, it's amazing how many people come in for not just trail maintenance and engineering, but also for things like how to be an expert guide, wilderness first aid, and those type of things as well. We partnered with Camp Greer and several of the other camping organizations in the area to do their onboarding of their counselors every summer as well. So that program is growing, and we're very proud of that. Facilities. Can't talk about the health of your campus without talking about facilities. So this is the age of our buildings. And basically, by my understanding, if you have a public building that's under 25 years, then that's considered kind of a newer building. Once it gets to 26 to almost 50, then you can expect some systems, HVAC and that kind of thing, to be needing to be replaced. Then when you get in that last 25 years, that 50 to 75, that's when you can start seeing buildings that you're going to need more structural replacements, roofs and those type of things. As you may recall, last year we replaced a roof in our Azalea building, and this goes directly to the support that you guys provide us. And so without your help, we would not be able to maintain those buildings. And so I really want to say thank you. Even as our buildings age, you guys have been spot on to help us make sure we have safe and clean and all the other things that we need for our buildings. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. Not only do our students go through those buildings, but also we have lots of guests. We bring a lot of different agencies in, and community groups come in and visit our buildings. So the Crane Resistoflex Auditorium there, 2,400 guests came through, and this coming year the community theater will also be offering their plays in that building, and so that's just going to increase. Even Old Fort Workforce Development Center had over 1,000 people coming in and using that facility, which also then brings in purchasing of coffee and all the other economic supports there for the town of Old Fort. So that's very, very helpful to them. The new building's coming online, the Health Science and Public Safety Center. We're very excited about that. That's a $25 million project. You can see the milestones there and the projected timeline. We are on target to have a state construction approval by the end of this summer. We hope to have our grand opening in fall 28, start moving into the building that fall, and classes beginning in spring 2029. This building is going to not only add a building to the campus, but it will renovate the whole area, improve our parking lots, and also the traffic pattern for the main campus. There's a website that if you want to keep track of what's going on with the new building, we're very creative with that, mcdowelltech.edu/new-building. The ground floor will have public safety training in it primarily. The second floor will be nursing and a mock hospital with simulation labs. The third floor, administrative offices and a rooftop terrace for events. And then on the roof will be a public safety rappelling area because our fire service people, they need to know how to rappel. So we're excited about that. And no, Mr. Walker, you cannot. I know you were thinking about it. I saw it in your eyes.
Let me know when we try it out. We're all good to go.
To highlight some of the renovations that you guys have funded for us, and again, thank you. Several bathrooms, HVAC, ADA compliance updates, of course, Crane Resistoflex Auditorium. We appreciate your support in helping us maintain those buildings and getting those renovations in place. Even last minute things that go above and beyond our regularly allocated budget. It's nice to know that we can come and have a conversation and figure out how to make it happen. So thank you very much. We appreciate that. So last but not least, our finances. This is primarily for our audience because I believe you guys know this. Our state allocations is a significant amount of our budget, usually 80-85% of our total budget. That's operating funds and cost, instruction, faculty and staff and salaries. Again, about 90% of our budget. I want to make it very clear that we're not allowed to use any of our state budget on facilities and maintenance and that kind of thing. And I know you guys know that, but I wanted to make sure the audience knew that as well. Also want to make sure people know that we don't keep our tuition. So unlike the university system, they keep their tuition, we do not. The tuition comes into us and when we send it to the state. The state then takes that FTE that I talked about earlier, they calculate that FTE and then they set a budget for us based upon that FTE from the previous year. So if we had any growth from the previous year, then we don't get that money during that year. We have to wait until the next year with our enrollment growth. So it makes it very challenging to budget when you have high growth. And as you saw in the enrollment, we've been seeing growth for several years now. And so that's the state allocation. County allocations is you guys are legislatively mandated to help us, as you do, with our facilities and our maintenance and a variety of other things, and I thank you for that support. This graph, I thought it was very important to show that even though there's been a 36% increase on the state allocation based on FTE, the county has given us a steady increase of 20% over the past 5 years. And I wanted to make sure I said thank you for that. That's all I have. I tried to talk fast. I think you listened fast. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try my best to answer those questions.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Kelley, for the super job that you do with our college. We can see how the college has improved since you've been here. So you are a valuable asset to our community through the college. So thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. And I look forward to our continued partnership as we all serve the citizens. And yes.
I just want to brag on the people that you have that run the CCP program. The poor young lady who sat with my senior son while they tried to figure out what life goals he had and where his future was looking. And then he said, "Can I call my mom?" And she was just so kind and walked through, explained the classes, explained, and my other sons have done that as well. But the young lady that was there this past year really did a fantastic job
Well,
helping, these young people try to figure out what's next, and so, great job.
Thank you
And
very
got-
much.
And got him enrolled.
That is great to
So it
hear.
was wonderful.
That is great to hear. One of the things we talk about on campus is how important the one-on-one, 3D conversation, because that's who we are, not only in the county, but at the college as well.
Yeah, I will say, they come to the school and meet face to face and have that, interaction, so that was wonderful.
Right. Our motto right now is you are right where you belong, and we think that's because of that personal touch that we provide. So it's great to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
sir.
you, everybody.
Next on the agenda is the McDowell Chamber update, and we have Ms. Kim Effler here.
And Madalyn, I may need your help here. Dr. Kelley, you're a hard act to follow. Oh, did you get it? I emailed it earlier.
Should be on there.
Nope. Yes. Yeah. Ha.
Okay, I don't know how to press.
Yay. One of the biggest challenges that I have in this career is condensing the work that we do into 15 minutes. It's really, really difficult. So I am going to stick to my script so I make sure I don't miss anything. Good evening, Chairman Brown and commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. I was reflecting earlier, the last time I was here was just after Hurricane Helene. So it's been a minute. Glad to be back with you all. For those of you that might be listening in, I'm Kim Effler, proud president and CEO of the McDowell Chamber of Commerce, and I recently celebrated my 7th year at the Chamber. Time really does fly when you're having fun. Today, I want to clearly walk you through 3 things: the impact the Chamber is delivering across McDowell County, the role we've played in recovery and stabilization, and where we're going next, and why all of this matters to the future of McDowell County. Today's message is centered around 3 words: growth, resilience, and recovery. These are not just concepts. They represent the small business owner who stayed open when things were hard, the employers who fought to keep people working, and the community that continues to show up for one another when it matters the most. This is the story behind the work that we do at the Chamber of Commerce. And let me start by grounding us in who we are and why it matters to McDowell County. To fully understand the role of the Chamber and why it matters, it starts with clarity around who we are. There are often misconceptions about what a Chamber of Commerce is and what we do, so I want to be very clear. We are not a government entity, as many people think we are. We are not a social club, even though we are well known for our scissors. We are a business-powered nonprofit organization driven by one mission: to advocate for, support, and elevate the businesses that fuel our local economy. And that role is broader than many people realize. We are connectors, we are problem solvers, and in times of disruption, we are a first line of support for our business community. What also makes our model unique, and this has changed in the last few years, is our structure. Through both our chamber and our foundation created in 2023, we operate as a dual engine, allowing us to advocate for businesses while bringing funding and resources into McDowell County. In simple terms, we don't just talk about solutions, we help fund and implement them. And while we operate independently, our work directly supports the county's priorities: economic growth, business retention, workforce stability, and long-term resilience. At the end of the day, our focus is simple: helping businesses open, grow, adapt, and succeed. Because when small businesses succeed, our entire community wins. Everything we do at the Chamber aligns with one clear purpose: to drive economic growth by connecting businesses with the resources, services, relationships, and advocacy that they need to succeed. We often describe our work in three ways. We advocate. We give businesses a voice, whether they're navigating workforce challenges, access to capital, or policy decisions that impact their future. We are their voice. I was in Raleigh last week. I'm going again tomorrow. I visit Washington, D.C. every September, and I carry the voice of our local businesses with me when I go. We support, from startups, I like to say the most fragile of businesses, to long-standing employers. We provide hands-on support through marketing, networking, leadership development, and one-on-one guidance. And we lead. We bring together businesses, education, nonprofit, and government to move ideas forward and to create momentum in McDowell County. If I had to simplify all of this even further, I would say we connect businesses to what they need, and we help remove barriers so they can move forward. From our largest industry to our smallest startups, our role is to make it easier to do business in McDowell County. So what does all of this look like in practice? It looks like a business community that is active, engaged, and growing. In 2025, the Chamber served 422 members, representing nearly half of all businesses in McDowell County. We hosted 10 events, connecting nearly 1,000 people, creating opportunities for relationships, collaboration, and growth. We celebrated 31 ribbon-cutting ceremonies, each one representing a business opening, expanding, or reinvesting in our community. We welcomed 61 new members, clear evidence that businesses see value in being connected to this business family that we've created and remain engaged. Our digital outreach exceeded 750,000 impressions, helping us actively promote and amplify local business. And I want you to think for just a minute, that's a number that I didn't really understand because technology usually hates me. But when we think about a new business, that business may not even have a website. They're using our social capital to get engaged, and that number tells me that it's working. And through our visitor center, which just celebrated its 30th year in existence last July, we served over 6,000 visitors from all across the globe, directly supporting tourism and the local economy. And I'll say the importance of every visitor walking into our office. These visitors are part of our recovery. In fact, they're the closest thing that our small businesses have to recovery in this moment. So what's important in this is that the momentum has continued in 2026. In just the first 4 months of this year, we've hosted 3 events with over 300 in attendance. 7 ribbon cuttings have already occurred and 5 are already on the books. And we've welcomed already 24 new members to the Chamber Network. This isn't just activity, it's economic investment and movement in McDowell County. Every event creates connection. Every ribbon cutting represents investment and job creation in McDowell County, and every new member strengthens the business network here in the community that we all love so deeply. When businesses are connected and supported at this level, they are most likely to stay, to grow, and to invest right here in McDowell County. So as we've built this momentum, we've also been very intentional about how we operate as a business. In 2025, the McDowell Chamber earned CACCE, which is Carolina's Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, accreditation, a designation that reflects strong governance, sound financial practices, and meaningful impact. This was a lot of work to accomplish, and we did it. This places our chamber among a select group of organizations across North and South Carolina meeting high standards of our profession. And on a personal note, I've also earned my Certified Chamber Executive designation, which reflects the commitment to professional leadership and continued growth in my role. Additionally, I will serve as chair of CACCE beginning in January, leading 143 chambers of commerce in North and South Carolina, right here from McDowell County. These recognitions aren't just about the hardware that we get to bring home with us. These are about accountability. They ensure that the work we're doing here in McDowell County is well managed, financially sound, and aligned with proven best practices. Because at the end of the day, the work that we're doing for our business community requires excellence and requires trust. Trust from our members, our partners, and from this board. These are standards that help ensure we are operating in a way that earns and maintains that trust. So as we look ahead, everything we're doing is guided by a clear direction. For those of you that have heard me talk before, I am all about creating a strategy and following that strategy. Our strategy for 2026 is called Business Forward 2026. This is our roadmap for how we continue to strengthen our business community, support economic growth, and move McDowell County forward, especially as we continue long-term recovery from Hurricane Helene. Our work is focused in 5 key areas. First, business growth. We are committed to building a stronger, more vibrant small business economy because small business is the backbone of this county. Second, member programming like leadership development, which includes initiatives like our LINK program, where we just graduated our 17th class, over 400 leaders, developing informed, engaged leaders who understand and invest in McDowell County's future. When Hurricane Helene happened, our community needed leaders. And third, advocacy and funding. We are focused on bringing resources into McDowell County, ensuring that the voice of business is represented in policy decisions that impact our local economy. And fourth, our own organizational strength. We are a membership organization. The way that business operates is changing. We are continued to building a stable, sustainable, well-positioned chamber because a strong organization is better equipped to respond, lead, and deliver results. And finally, recovery and resilience, because while we've made progress, our work is nowhere near finished. We are committed to helping businesses recover fully, rebuild fully, and prepare for what comes next. You'll see in the materials that I've provided this evening, there is a detailed Business Forward 2026 breakdown and of our specific actions, along with our 2026 public policy agenda. These documents reflect direct input from our business community and are designed to align priorities, guide decision-making, and move this work forward in a coordinated way. This is not just a plan, it's our commitment. As part of this work, our board has adopted the 2026 Public Policy Agenda. Dr. Kelley serves on that policy impact team along with other highly regulated businesses in McDowell County. This agenda reflects the real challenges and opportunities facing our business community and ensures that when we advocate, we're not guessing. We're speaking from direct input, not assumption. Our focus areas are straightforward and aligned with what we're hearing from our businesses around McDowell County and include disaster recovery, small business support, workforce and education, workforce housing, which was by a landslide the #1 challenge in McDowell County, tourism and economic development. Our role in this work is simple. We serve as a nonpartisan voice for business. We bring forward what we're hearing, we track policy that impacts our economy, and we help ensure that local business perspectives are part of the conversation. Our goal is to ensure that the voice of business is clearly understood and that what we are working on is coordinated and moves our county forward. Almost done, y'all. As we look ahead, this is a project that is near and dear to my heart. It has been 5 years in the making, and this is a project that brings to life the vision of the Chamber of Commerce. This is our Downtown Incubator Project. This initiative represents what's possible when strong partnerships, clear vision, and persistence all come together. In partnership with the Catawba Vale Innovation Market and other community partners, we are working to create a space in the heart of downtown Old Fort designed to support entrepreneurs and small businesses from the ground up. This project will include a co-working space, private offices, conference facilities, and access to educational programming, all focused on helping businesses launch, grow, and succeed. We often say that this project is about manufacturing businesses because McDowell County is really great at manufacturing all sorts of things. Let's manufacture small business designed to last. This project is more than a building. It's about creating opportunity, supporting entrepreneurship, and strengthening long-term economic future of McDowell County and job creation. This reflects the type of work the Chamber is committed to. We bring partners together, align resources, and move meaningful projects forward. What I've shared so far reflects where we've been, but the reality is this work is happening every single day. The Chamber is consistently moving, connecting businesses, hosting events, advocating, and responding to the needs of our community in real time. That includes very recent action. Just last Friday, at the end of our National Small Business Week, the Chamber of Commerce and the Chamber Foundation launched a second phase of our Hurricane Helene mini grant program in partnership with the Duke Energy Foundation. This was designed to provide direct support to local businesses as they continue to recover and adapt. At the completion of this phase of funding, our organization will have deployed nearly $200,000 in small business funding to businesses right here in McDowell County. This is a continuation of the work that we've been doing since the day of the storm. We're not just responding, we're helping businesses stabilize and move forward. This work isn't something that happens once a year or one event. It's ongoing, it's evolving, and driven by the real needs of our business community. I would like to say I was sitting too long and I made some notes that are not in my script, but I'm going to share them anyway. One of the things that the McDowell Chamber is very proud of is our Purposeful Pathways event. This is the third year that the McDowell Chamber of Commerce has a conversation with every fifth grader in McDowell County schools, and this year, New Manna. We create a job fair expo style opportunity for every child in McDowell County schools to talk to a career, a baker, a veterinarian, a retail, a therapist, a doctor, and on and on and on. It is a lot of work. We spend 2 days with these kiddos. This is education, and it gives them exposure in really meaningful and intentional ways. On June 9th, and I should have given you all a list of the things that we have planned for the rest of the year, but on June the 9th, we are creating our very first, and I hope not the last, Business Disaster Preparedness Seminar for our businesses in McDowell County. We want to learn from Helene. We want to make sure that our businesses are disaster prepared. We want to get them thinking about what happens if they have no electricity for a week. What happens if their building catches fire? What happens if their documents are destroyed by a flood? Those are the things that we will work to accomplish in partnership with William Keller and his team. So as I close today, I want to come back around to something very simple. The strength of McDowell County's economy is directly tied to the strength of our small businesses. And that strength doesn't happen by accident. It happens when we are all aligned and when we see the value of our small businesses. There are 3 things that we can do to move this work forward together. First, we have to support our small businesses with our time and our financial resources. We must continue to prioritize policy, investments, and decisions that make it easier to start, grow, and sustain a small business in McDowell County. There are 1,100 businesses in McDowell County. 800 of them are small. Those are real jobs. That is real economic output. Can you imagine a McDowell County with 0 small businesses? It would be a boring place to live, and I would be starving to death because there would be nowhere to eat. I have given each of you, hot off the press, the very first window decal. It is a McDowell County shop small, shop local decal for your window. We'd love for you to support our initiative and love our small businesses. So secondly, be engaged. Being present and being visible in the business community, not just during key moments, or maybe even if you know the business, but consistently. Your presence at events is unforgettable. Our businesses remember who shows up and supports them, cutting that ribbon. That is the beginning of a journey. It is a small investment of time, and they will never forget. And third, investment. Sustaining and growing the work of this Chamber of Commerce must happen so that we can continue to deliver results, respond in times of need, and lead initiatives that strengthen our local economy. This community deserves a dynamic Chamber of Commerce. And I believe that the Chamber of Commerce is a litmus test, if you will, for the vitality of businesses in this place that we live. If we are healthy, what does that say about our business community? When the chamber is strong, businesses are supported. And when businesses are supported, the entire community benefits. This chamber is committed to doing this work. We look forward to continuing this in partnership with each of you. And thank you for your time, your leadership, and your commitment to McDowell County. I would happily take some questions. If I didn't, I probably went way over my time.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you. I think on behalf of the whole entire board here, thank you, Kim, for the accomplishments of the chamber, the things that you guys have accomplished over the past years, and for the investment that you have made into the small businesses here in the county. It's very important to us to see that happen, and we appreciate all that you do. Also, we'd like to congratulate you on your personal achievement that was quite an honor, and so congratulations on that. But thank you very much for your presentation and for all that you do for the county. Anyone else have anything? All right, thanks,
I just want to say thank you and congratulations on being chair. But thank you, the 5th grade initiative you did. You know, it helps by the time they're in 12th grade know, you know, when they come to enroll for college, what they have, what their options are, what they might be interested in. And so I think they go hand in hand. And I think that's a great program you do, just to add to all of the things that you do that I wasn't aware until I got on the board and you came last year. I wasn't even aware of all of the things that you do, and you do so much, and you do a great job at it. So thank you.
It's an honor.
Thank you. All right. Now let's move along to old business. We'll do item A under old business, which is the water system project update. Mr. Wooten.
Yes, sir. I'll start with an item just to remind folks, including the board, of course, that you know, but I think, like Dr. Kelley said, there are people watching and with us that maybe don't know all the things that we do in all our situations. So as you all know, we purchase water from the city of Marion for what we call our NEBO water system. We have had some form of agreement in place since 2005 when we first started to extend lines in that community. And at that time, while we have run water lines all over the county and sewer as well, over the decades, going back really probably the 60s and 70s, typically what would happen up until around 2005, the county would either find grant funds, federal funding, state or whatever, administer a project, install the infrastructure, and then hand it over to the city for operation and future billing. Again, that changed in 2005. In NEBO, that originally started where the county owned the infrastructure that was built, water lines in that area. But after about 3 years or so, the decision was made to start operating those lines and buying water from the city and reselling it to customers in that community. Again, that was, I believe, 2009. So we've had an agreement going back for a purchase system, I think, to 2009. And since that time, we have worked primarily through the receipt of grant funding, either from a federal or state level, to expand that system. We're almost done with the expansion from federal and state sources in that community, and when all those projects are done, we'll be a little over 500 customers. So we've come a long way in 20 years. Again, we have that interlocal purchase agreement. As it's currently written, it would expire, I believe, at the end of 2027. As we have discussed over the last couple of years, I've talked about master meters a lot. That is essentially where the city system ends and ours begins. We have installed one more of those there at Memorial Park Road. We are in discussions about relocating one on Highway 70 with the city, and so everything east of those meters belongs to the county for operation and billing. So I say all that background to talk about we are in a situation where at some point relatively soon, at least by the end of 27, if not sooner, that agreement will need to be modified. Related to that, I have received some indication from the city manager that the city is contemplating implementing a new fee structure for large water purchasers like the county, called a block structure. So really quick, what this would mean is that the more water you buy, the more expensive it is. And so for an industry in the community that was heavily reliant on water, probably the idea is that they would perhaps try to reduce the amount of water they are purchasing from the city in order to help conserve a precious resource. for a water system as ourselves, we also encourage conservation from our customers, which are primarily residential. But it is what it is as far as our usage. In the month of April, we purchased from the city about 2.4 million gallons for that entire month. And once we were notified of this possible change, we did some quick math, and we understood that the increase would, on an annual basis, be about $70,000. That would be paid by the county and would need to be paid by our customers. And so I talked about 500 customers earlier, which is where we think we'll end up at the end of the summer. To do really quick math, that's about $11 per month that we would need to impose onto our customers. So about a 60% increase on the amount of the cost from buying the water from the city. There's also a planned 5% increase, as I understand it, for customers inside the city that we have typically followed. So when you put the two together, that's a 65% increase in the amount we would be paying the city for the privilege of buying that water. We had a meeting scheduled earlier today for some leadership discussions that had to be postponed due to illness, but we have requested a meeting to talk about what that impact would do to our system financially, more importantly, what it would do to our customers. I'll note as well that $11 or $12 a month impact would be on top of anything we would need to charge to increase for the financial health of our system in any repairs or anything else we might need to do. So it could limit our ability to take care of our needs.
Mr. Wooten, when were you notified that there was a block structure increase being recommended or that would be put on the county? When were you notified of that?
Probably about 2 weeks ago, I was notified that it was something that was being looked at, and last week I was notified that this was something that, barring any last-minute change, it was happening.
We meet monthly in the utility committee meeting, and I've been in that committee meeting, and it's not been mentioned there, has it?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Brown, you've been there too. Have you heard that? Yes. As a partner, to me, it looks like you're going to have some discussion about an impact that's going to impact your users of your system, I would think.
What would, to that, what about the school system and the school water? Is that directly billed to the school system, or does that come through us?
It is billed to the school system, and so when this block structure was implemented actually for the current year, as I understand it, both the county, I presume by virtue of our interlocal agreement, and the schools were exempted from the structure. And so as I understand, again, it's May, things can change between now and July 1st.
Sure.
Are the schools going to be exempted this time?
As I understand it, the discussions would be to exempt no one,
I've got
including the school system.
I've got a question I think would be a very important question to ask. Should the county not be able to do this, provide this 65% increase? Is there an alternative for the county on water resources from somewhere else?
The only option we would have in the NEVO system is eastward at this point, unless you dug wells, which I wouldn't recommend based on what we know for the wells.
I would suggest that you initiate a conversation with your Burke County counterparts and start getting data to them so they can give you data to give to us about what it would cost to buy from them in the event the board does not want to pay a 65 or pass along a 65% increase to our water customers.
Is that a motion?
I don't mind a bit to make it a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion second. Do we have any other discussion?
I would like to encourage the professional courtesy of letting us be aware of situations, the different boards that we all serve on. I think it would be, we want to try to have our best foot forward, and we want to be fully aware of what's coming our way, and 65% is a pretty significant increase, and it's somewhat of a disappointment.
I will say that, you know, we will do our part, however, for staff and for you all as well to have conversations with your colleagues there.
And I would definitely encourage, I mean, we're
Absolutely.
not, by the motion, we're not saying we want to dissolve ourselves from the city of Marion
No.
and being a water partner. That's quite the opposite of the motion's intent. The intent of the motion is to explore other feasible options in the event there can't be a good resolution for both parties.
We have an obligation to our citizens.
Yes, sir.
And the taxpayers.
And your customers there.
Right.
Okay, so all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I'll mostly skip over the updates for construction. I mentioned that is happening.
Mr. Wynn, I've got to go do my civic duty and coach a girls softball team, Babe Ruth, so I'm going to slide out, so just to make you aware.
Thank you, sir. There are 2 action items related to growing of our system in Nebo, and also the system that we had discussed growing along Sugar Hill Road and that corridor to serve the school system. And so you have resolutions that would accept the funding. These are state revolving fund monies that is primarily forgivable loan. And you talk about expenses, there's proportionally a very small debt for both projects. No interest is paid over 20 years. That would be required out of both of them.
I'd move that we authorize the resolutions.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
And I'll pick out 2 more things out of your update here. I have had some conversations per your direction and approval with the town of Old Fort regarding the exploration of extending county-owned and operated water lines outward from the town limits. And those were very positive, very preliminary, and so they will be speaking as representatives with the rest of the board, and we'll continue conversations with you.
I think that would be one of the greatest investments that our county could make in the future would be extending a water line from Old Fort. They have, you know, they'll never run out of water.
A good supply. They're very excited.
So that's something that we really need to, the next time we can locate some money for some water lines, we need to entertain that idea.
Always looking. And lastly, under back on the Nebo system, I mentioned we have received funding from the North Carolina Community Foundation for $100,000 to connect folks in the Nebo community that were of lower income. We have received at least 10 applications for that, which hopefully we can do more than 10, but very excited about the response for that. We'll get people connected over this summer. That's all I have for water.
Okay. All right, then let's move along to item B, which will be the Universal Technology Park grading project update. Mr. Wooten.
Yes, sir. I do not have slides or photos, unfortunately, but if you're just about anywhere on the south side of town, you can probably see grading that is happening near the community college. I've talked about this a little bit. It's been a few months, but this is funded by the Golden Leaf Foundation. This is providing a second building site off of what's called Impact Drive. We're probably about 50% done with the grading. There will be some excavation or blasting of rock that is at the surface, that has been surfaced. But once that is done, we will have that rock put in the voids that have been created and try to have a balanced site as much as possible. With the goal, of course, having a building pad that could be marketed for sale for economic development purposes. So again, just a quick update. We'll probably have a change order on that work. If not the next meeting, the June meeting should be significant.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wood. Let's move into new business now. Item A would be the Register of Deeds retention schedule approval.
Yes, sir. This is coming from Ms. Effler. This is something the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources had asked counties to approve related to retention reschedule. Most of their documents are held permanently. There are a few things that are allowed to be destroyed after a number of years.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item B will be the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, the annual plan.
Yes, sir. This is, again, very quickly, the JCPC is what is called sometimes. It is a council that you appoint with also members of law enforcement, judicial, and others, with the goal of preventing crime from occurring, and especially reoccurring for youth. If they do get involved in the system, that they get out of it very quickly and hopefully learn their lesson. And so there is a plan presented by the council that is recommended for your approval. The county funding is a smaller portion of what is here. The total is $160,000. And I'll also add that they are requesting the reappointment of the folks listed on, I think it's page 134. You see the 2 county commissioner appointed. You do not have to do this, but they've asked for reappointment. Mr. Cupperson as a school representative, and Jacob Calvert was an appointee. And then there are several that are designees by their position.
Move that we approve the request.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Wooten. Let's move to item C, which would be the Commissioners Board and Committee appointments. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. I spoke with Mr. Hollifield earlier this morning and confirmed the available seats on the board. So there are 5 applications for Transportation Advisory Board and only 3 vacant seats. This is a second reading for Amy Stevens, Donna Ledbetter, and Lacey Coward, and a first reading for Jerry West and Iana Palacros. Their applications are printed for your reviewing and a ballot has been provided.
Move that we waive the first reading for those applicants that she mentioned.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
So are you ready to vote for those?
Go ahead and pass those forward. Just pass them to Madam Clerk.
Excuse me.
You can read the results.
So Amy Stevens has been reappointed, Jerry West has been appointed, and Lacey Coward has been appointed to fill the vacant seats.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on now to item D, which would be the budget update and approvals. Mr. Wooten.
No approvals this week. We're not able to get the amendments in the packet, but you'll see the property tax collection rate is 98.99%, and you have your sales tax report there as well. So no action tonight.
That's good. Okay, item E will be the administrative items and review for approval. Mr. Wooten.
Yes, sir. You have EMS transport write-offs, and pretty typical for us. The next item is a van donation. We have what used to be a transit van. It was technically listed as a DSS vehicle, but I don't think maybe they ever used it. And I did speak with Ms. Brewer, and they have no need for it. It's a 2009 Ford Econoline van. Mission Ministries Alliance has been identified as a suitable home for that vehicle. But before asking any feedback on that from you all, the organization did indicate that they will be able to use it to take clients to medical appointments and job opportunities, which is a continued public purpose. And then lastly, there are several water leak adjustments for the water system.
Make a motion to approve the administrative items.
I'd like to, I'll second, and then I've got something to say about the van.
Okay, we have a motion second, go ahead for discussion.
On the van donation, I think it would behoove us to, before that actually takes place, that we remove anything designated on it, lettering or whatever,
Absolutely.
with the county, and that we get a waiver of liability from the Mission Ministries for any mechanical or anything that might need to be done to it, that we get a waiver that we're
As
done.
is, where
when
is.
it's
As
done.
is,
Yes.
Stephen. Okay,
Thank you. That's good.
that's a motion.
It was motion and it was in discussion.
Okay.
I'll update my motion for that.
Okay. All right, all in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Let's move to item F, will be the property tax releases and refunds and discoveries, Mr. Wooten.
Not many this month. They're pretty typical.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
I have a motion to second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item G now will be the property tax resolution. Mr. Wooten, if you'll lead us off.
Yes, sir. I believe it was Friday evening you received an email from Kevin Leonard, who's the executive director of the Association of County Commissioners, which is, again, your advocacy organization in Raleigh. They are, of course, closely monitoring any legislation, as they always do, but specifically around the property tax reform that is being discussed in the General Assembly. And often you have advocated for property tax reform of various sorts, especially as it relates to expanding and enhancing any discounts for elderly as well as disabled veterans, because that is currently allowed by law, and it can be limiting based on income limitations. And so the association has sent out this draft resolution. I added some language into it, if that was okay. The main purpose of the resolution is to request to the General Assembly that they maintain and support the continued local decision-making when it comes to property tax, billing and assessment, but also, maybe more importantly, to the item of looking out for folks' interests. It would, make sure I get the bill right, endorse the passage of Senate Bill 349, which would somewhat decrease what is called a marriage penalty for elderly folks, where that there is, it's not 100% doubling of that exemption, but it would increase that a little bit to not penalize folks that are married where they disqualify. And maybe more importantly, it would make changes to what is called the Circuit Breaker program. That is a program that is not very popular currently statewide, because typically what will happen is elderly individuals that qualify, they're able to essentially freeze their assessment where it is, and then at whatever point that they either transfer the property to an heir or they pass away and the state receives it, all those deferred taxes become payable. And so most folks don't want that to be burdened on someone else, and so it's not been very popular. But what this bill would do would remove the deferral.
That would be great. That would be great.
So I think you've advocated for that
We have
for a very long time.
So what's the pleasure of the board of accepting this?
Move we approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's all I have.
Okay, next is citizen comments. Do we have any, Fred? Okay, we'll move along now to Commissioner Staff Reports, Communications, anything?
I'll ask you to be thinking about what your preference would be for the actual budget presentation. It's probably going to be after Memorial Day. Would you be okay if it was in a morning time?
That'd be fine.
Could it be on a Friday morning that I can give you? If it's that Friday that week, I think Memorial Day is the 25th. If it can be that Friday of that week, that'd be great.
Is that okay with everyone?
It's fine, fine with me.
8 o'clock be okay?
That's Friday, Friday before Memorial Day weekend?
No.
Be after.
It'll be
Friday.
after.
The Friday after.
29th.
Not the one before, okay.
Right, it's not Memorial Day weekend.
Okay,
That's
good.
the 20,
8:30?
ending the 20,
Okay,
8:30, okay?
anytime
yeah,
for me. I'll be here early or late. Thank you.
okay.
We'll get that scheduled and noticed there.
Hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned.